Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Defense Pulse. Today we bring you a deep dive into the dramatic event that shocked the world: Ukraine's drones striking Moscow's famed Evolution Tower, a structure reportedly worth $3 billion. We'll explore all facets: the exterior, the interior, performance, safety implications, unique selling points, cost ramifications, and wrap up with a strong conclusion. Let's start with the exterior. From the outside, the Evolution Tower stands as a sleek, twisting marvel of modern architecture. Its glass facade reflects the Moscow skyline, curving in a spiral that rises elegantly toward the sky. The building's silhouette is striking, tall, gleaming, with an almost dynamic motion, as if constantly twisting even though it is fixed. The windows are composed of reinforced glass panels, tinted slightly to reduce glare and improve energy efficiency, giving the tower a semi-mirrored aesthetic. The drone strike left visible damage on multiple faces of the tower: shattered glass, punctured facade panels, and scorched areas where explosions or incendiary devices struck. You could see fractured window sections, deformed metal frames, and in places where structural elements were hit, gaping wounds exposing internal floors. On the lower levels, localized damage is more evident: broken glass strewn around, debris cascading downward, and smoke stains marking the path of impact. The contrast is stark. What was once a pristine, soaring architectural symbol now bears scars of conflict. The tower's spiral form also works to its disadvantage. Damage on one side becomes visible over a wide angle, so the visual impact is dramatic from many vantage points across Moscow. Moving on to the interior, though the inside of the tower is less documented post-strike, reports suggest that the damage penetrated several floors. Interiors suffer from shattered glass shards scattered across floors, shattered ceilings, twisted frames in interior partitions, and infrastructure damage to HVAC and electrical conduits. Offices or spaces nearer to the impact zones would have been disrupted, with fire suppression systems likely triggered. Damage to internal support structures, wiring, pipes, and even interior finishing walls. Flooring, ceilings would vary depending on how close to the strike point the rooms were. The blow would compromise the tranquility and usability of the interiors, forcing evacuation, and significant reconstruction would be necessary before normal operations could resume. Now let's talk about performance. Except here, the performance is not of a vehicle but of the drones, the strike, and how effective it was. These drones penetrated Moscow airspace and successfully struck a high-profile target in the heart of the capital. That shows sophisticated navigation, stealth, and resilience. The drones likely used GPS, inertial guidance, and perhaps jamming resistance to avoid electronic countermeasures. Their precision allowed them to hit structural parts of a major tower, not merely peripheral or superficial damage. The performance also lies in psychological effect. Striking a prestigious architectural symbol in Moscow sends a message beyond military impact. It's about deterrence, signaling reach, and projecting capability. The fact that the tower is valued at $3 billion magnifies the symbolic success of the strike. The drone's ability to evade air defenses or exploit gaps and reach such a high-value target inside a heavily surveilled city underscores a high level of design and deployment sophistication. Next, safety features again. Here the concept is inverted: the safety or lack thereof both in defense and in building resilience. From the building perspective, Evolution Tower would have had safety measures: blast-resistant glass for lower floors, fire suppression systems, structural redundancy, and evacuation routes, stairwells, emergency exits, fireproof materials, and so forth. Yet the strike exposed vulnerabilities. Even with reinforced glass and protective layering, some panels shattered, structural frames bore deformations, smoke penetrated interior areas. The building systems, such as sprinklers or suppression, would have had to activate. Emergency lighting, fire doors, smoke control, and egress systems would be critical in minimizing casualties in such a scenario. From the defense side, Russia's air defense and anti-drone measures, radar, electronic warfare, missile systems were supposed to intercept such threats, but evidently there was a failure or lapse. The safety features of the air defense apparatus were breached. The ability or inability to detect, track, jam, or intercept these drones becomes a key safety concern. The event lays bare that advanced targets, even in well-protected airspace, can be vulnerable to asymmetric aerial assets when defenses are circumvented. Let's examine the unique selling points in this case. The significance and strategic advantages of Ukraine's drone strike and the symbolism of targeting the Evolution Tower. First, surprise and reach. The ability to carry out a strike deep in Moscow challenges assumptions about geographic immunity. Second, symbolic targeting. Instead of hitting a generic military installation, the choice of a prestigious tower valued at $3 billion amplifies the impact. Third, precision and minimal collateral impact if that was achieved. If the drones hit primarily structural elements without widespread civilian casualties, then it demonstrates controlled capability rather than brute force. Fourth, propaganda and psychological warfare. The damage to a symbol of modern Russian ambition sends a message to both domestic and international audiences. Fifth, escalation management. Using drones rather than large missile systems allows calibration, a method to inflict damage without escalating to full-scale bombardment. Sixth, cost efficiency. Drones are relatively low cost compared to long-range missiles or bomber sorties, yet the damage inflicted and reputation boost is enormous. Seventh, demonstrating technological maturity. Successfully penetrating heavily defended airspace and striking a building in Moscow indicates that Ukraine's drone warfare capabilities have matured. Eighth, deterrent potential. It forces Russia to allocate more resources to defense, complicating their strategic calculus. Now, as for price, we're not talking consumer product pricing, but cost, value, and strategic accounting. The building is valued at about $3 billion, so the target value is extremely high. From Ukraine's side, deploying drones is far cheaper. Perhaps each drone costs tens of thousands of dollars depending on sophistication. From a cost-benefit ratio, inflicting even a fraction of damage, say tens to hundreds of millions in structural repairs, yields a favorable balance. Russia, or the owner of the tower, now faces enormous reconstruction expenses, replacing glass facades, repairing structural elements, restoring interiors, HVAC, electrical, security systems, and aesthetic finishes. That cost runs into many millions. Besides direct cost, there's reputational cost, loss of occupancy, business interruption, increased insurance, and security upgrades. Also, Russia will need to invest more in defensive infrastructure around key assets. So the broader price includes not just the physical cost but strategic, economic, and reputational costs. In conclusion, what can we take away from this audacious strike? The attack on the Evolution Tower reveals much about modern conflict dynamics. A building that was once a symbol of prestige and modernity has become a war zone scarred by precision drones. The exterior damage is bold and visible. The interior disruption is severe though less publicized. The drone's performance is impressive. The safety and defense systems have been shown vulnerable. The strategic or unique selling points of the strike reflect deep thinking in modern warfare, and the cost analysis strongly favors the attacker when hitting high-value targets. In a broader sense, this incident is not just about a building being hit, it's a turning point in the narrative of drone warfare and urban conflict. It forces every high-value target in Russia or elsewhere to rethink defense, resilience, and vulnerability. For viewers, this is a stark reminder. In the era of drones, no tower is entirely out of reach, and symbolic targets carry power beyond their concrete and steel. Thank you for watching and staying with Defense Pulse. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment your thoughts, and stay tuned for our next in-depth analysis.